back to 5-Star Life. Coach Seth here to talk to you about how you can open a door to living a 5-star life. And we've been talking about the value of respect, which we define as treating others the way we want to be treated. We've also been talking about the fact that, you don't respect what you don't believe in. So if you don't believe in something, you don't respect it. And you can't respect something that you don't know about. I believe the level of respect we would have for people everywhere would go up if we knew more about them. See, there's students that you sit next to in class every day that if you knew their story, I promise you'd treat them different. You'd respect them more. You might even be inspired by them. I mean, there's students sitting next to you in class that you go to school with that are homeless. There's students that, they woke up this morning, got themselves ready. There's nobody there to help them get them ready. They're Welcome back to 5-Star Life. Coach Seth here to talk to you about how you can open a door to living a 5-star life. And we've been talking about the value of respect, which we define as treating others the way we want to be treated. We've also been talking about the fact that, you don't respect what you don't believe in. So if you don't believe in something, you don't respect it. And you can't respect something that you don't know about. I believe the level of respect we would have for people everywhere would go up if we knew more about them. See, there's students that you sit next to in class every day that if you knew their story, I promise you'd treat them different. You'd respect them more. You might even be inspired by them. I mean, there's students sitting next to you in class that you go to school with that are homeless. There's students that, they woke up this morning, got themselves ready. There's nobody there to help them get them ready. They're doing it on their own. They're driven. They're on a mission. There's students that woke up this morning and they don't have a mom and a dad thinking, caring for them because their parents have either abandoned them or tragically passed away. There's students that you sit with that have been through cancer. There's students that have been through illness and sickness. There's students who are being bullied. If you would just take a moment to know their story, it would change the way you treat them. I believe the same is true about teachers. If we knew more about them, you can't respect what you don't know about. There's teachers that were up all night last night because they have little kids that were sick and they showed up to serve you. There's also school teachers that have, drama going on in their homes. I mean, alcoholic spouses fighting, and they show up and teach. If you knew that, I think the level of respect you have would go up. Every fall, our nation pauses to remember our veterans. It's called Veterans Day, where we pause to remember all the men and women who served, lost their lives, or who are currently serving. Did you know that over 1 million Americans have lost their lives serving our country? Over 1 million. I think it's so easy to go through the motions of Veterans Day because we don't really know their stories. We don't really have knowledge about what these folks have done for us and how important what they do is for our well-being. So today I want to share a story of a veteran named Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, a school teacher from Maine who in the 1800s, when the Civil War broke out, decided to leave his teaching profession and his wife and volunteer to fight in this war. Not because he was a soldier, not because he had, this great knowledge of war, but because this was the first war in world history, the history of the world, where the war was not about land, wasn't about power, it wasn't about women, it wasn't about conquest, it wasn't about any of those things. It was the very first war in our history of the world that men were fighting to set other men free. Now, I want to remind you that many of these men that joined the Civil War, especially from Maine, were white people who had never seen a black person in their life. But they believed in the ideas of our Constitution. They believed in our founding fathers that this idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everyone was possible. So Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, by default, found himself standing at the long end of a line, a long battle line. And he was actually in charge because the next person is superior was killed in battle. So he was charged with leading this group of men. He was at the very end of the line, which is very important, near a town called Gettysburg. You've heard of it. If the enemy army, the Confederate army, flanks them or gets around them and defeats their little group, they can come around the backside and attack the whole Union army and win this battle, possibly win the war. So by default, he's at this spot and he's defending the spot. He has no ammunition. His men are torn to shreds. Most of them are dead. They have no ammunition. And the rebel forces are starting to charge up the hill at them to take them down. They're way outnumbered. And he has a decision to make. Do we run and retreat? Not an option. There's nowhere to go. Do we surrender? Some of his men were saying we should surrender, save our lives, save our skins, go back to our families. Instead, he chose a third option, to charge. Immediately he said, fix bayonets, we're charging. His men paused. He said, fix bayonets, put on your bayonet, we're charging, we're going to be in hand-to-hand combat. In other words, it was a death sentence. We're fighting until we die. This is worth the cause. They charged down the hill. It caught the rebel army off guard. I mean, they're thinking, we're going to slaughter these guys, they're going to surrender, they're going to retreat. Instead, they started charging at them. It caused confusion. They were afraid. They thought there must have been reinforcements, so they panicked, dropped their weapons, and started running for their lives. Within a few moments, their whole section of that army had surrendered, and Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain won a great battle at Little Round Top. Now, what is the significance of this little battle? Well, it's very significant. The Union Army went on to win the Battle of Gettysburg. They went on to win the war several months later. And because of that, we live in the United States of America. Because of that, slavery was done away with. Freedom was possible. But one thing most people don't know that was so significant about Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain and his choice to charge was this. The country was divided. The Confederate States of America was formed and was fighting against the Union Army. If he didn't choose to charge, if he didn't choose to fight, if he didn't stand up to do this, there's a potential that the United States of America would be 2, 3, or maybe even 4 different countries. So think about this. Think about when Hitler or the Japanese decide to take over the world, or some of the crazy people across the world decide on conquest. There would have been no United States to protect them. We live in an amazing country, and it's made up of thousands and millions of people who put their lives in harm's way. One of the simple ways that you and I can honor our veterans, honor those who have served, honor those who have lost their lives, is to remember. And every time I hear the national anthem played, every time I see a flag, every time I see a member of our armed forces, I remember the story of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. I remember some of the other stories I've read throughout history of the men, the women who have lost their lives, who gave their all so that we could have this amazing place to live and pursue life, liberty, and happiness. My question is, will you open the door? Will you remember? Will you honor? Good luck.
5, 4, 2,
3,
2, 1.
Welcome back, guards. Today is Friday, March 23rd, and today is a white day.
The weather today is sunny with a high of 43 and a low of 19. In this week, during lunch and in the mornings before school, Riley raffles will be available. Hey, McKaylee, I heard the musical was last night.
Yes, Morgan, all the performers did amazing. What other information do you have for us?
Hey guys, so the tickets are $3 for students and $5 for adults.
The doors open at 6.
Come see the musical tonight.
Thank you. Now back to the desk. Art club changed next week. Art club will meet next week. Art club will meet next week, Wednesday, March 28th from 4 to 5 instead of Monday. As always, you may join art club at any time. Come out and bring a friend. Just a reminder, weightlifting club is Tuesday through Thursday, 7:45 to 8:45. Make sure to enter through door K. Also, girls basketball banquet is next Thursday, March 29th. Make sure to turn in your uniform. Now back to the desk.
And for lunch today, we will be having spaghetti with meat sauce, fish nuggets, and a spicy chicken sandwich.
Sounds fantastic. Now to McKaylee with the pledge.
Thank you. Now for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now back to the desk.
Have a fantastic Friday, guards.
I gotta go my own way.